Okay. Have I got any audio levels for me? Yes. And I've got audio for you as well. Perfect.
Okay.
Right, we're good to go. So, Jason, Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome back, Jason. Did you queue up for your iPad?
No. No, I think I'll go for the cheaper option, thanks.
And what's the cheaper option?
The iPad 2 mini.
Oh, the 2 mini.
Yeah, I'm not really sure anyone would want an iPad 3 mini.
Because it's got Touch ID.
Yes, apart from that. That's definitely worth £100.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought we could just been a bit different at the show this week. I thought instead of talking on the show, we could just swap picture messages on Skype.
Well, it'll be an animated series.
It will, yes.
My iPad still doesn't support that, so I'm afraid I won't be able to join in.
Oh, well, we can send it to your Windows phone.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was pretty underwhelmed actually with the whole iPad thing. I don't know about. I guess you probably talked about it last week. I apologise, I haven't had a chance to listen to the show, but I was kind of expecting something more.
Well, no, because I think the announcement was after the show, wasn't it?
Right.
It was.
Yeah. In fact, so we are going to talk about that. There's new hardware from Apple and from Google to talk about. Some new TV services for the Xbox One. You've already mentioned Skype, drawing on Skype. What else we've got? The guide data problems return. And an update for Windows 10 as well. Oh, and of course, I've talking about new hardware. I've saved up all my spending money and getting myself a brand new, fantastic new Windows tablet. Can you guess what it's going to be?
It's going to be the Argos one.
It's from eBuyer at £79.
Wow.
So I should have it in a couple of weeks. So it's not the Surface Pro 3 that I was hoping to save up for. But £79 from eBuyer, including delivery and VAT. It's 1 gig of RAM, 16 gig SSD, or whatever that the storage is. The other, not SSD, it's the other one, isn't it, Gary? Remind me what it is.
Oh, the ESS.
Yeah.
It's basically an SD card.
Yeah. So I think it's got that as the storage. Atom processor.
EMC, that's what I want.
Yeah. 8-inch screen, running Windows 8.1, and a year's worth of Office 365.
That's a bargain.
So I thought for that I'm going to review it and see how actually practical and whether you can actually get anything done with it. A bit interesting to see, because whether you can actually use the store apps. I don't expect to be installing Photoshop and editing Photoshop on there, but it would be nice to get the Windows Store app working up in Xbox.
You just wanted to buy it so you can talk about it and say it's not your grandfather's Atom.
That's my line.
We don't want to steal Gary's lines.
So does that come with a Retina display for that price?
If you hold it very close to your eye. I think it's 1020 by something. It's just the minimum res to get Windows 8.1 apps working.
Yeah.
£79.
Yeah, because I noticed this week, I think it was on WP Central, or Windows Central as they're now known, that Argos have launched their a cheapish Windows 8.1 tablet, and also a budget Windows phone.
Yes.
Which is, I think, could be quite interesting in the market. Having a retailer like Argos actually just selling the phones directly to people.
Yeah, I think it could make a big difference, because as we said before, price makes a huge difference on phones. When you're appealing to someone, kids, perhaps parents looking to buy the kids a smartphone, a cheap smartphone for Christmas, and all these, it all makes a difference.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been in our local co-op stores, and you see, behind the counter they've got, Android tablets for kind of 90, 100 quid, and looking at them that the performance and the experience is going to be less. Kind of down the lower end of the market, but at the end of the day, not everybody can afford a Surface Pro 3, and they're going to be good enough. So it will be interesting to hear your experience.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward just to try it, just from sort of that point of view, really, of just being able to just to see whether it actually works and whether you can actually do anything with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, I think the Atom process, like you say, as long as you're not going to be installing Photoshop or, SQL Server or something, it's certainly going to be adequate. The Atom process is quite easily comparable to, the ARM processor. So in terms of modern apps, I think the experience should be really good.
Yeah, I mean, even if you've got your Xbox Music subscription, like I have, then for £79, it's a little media player. A few years ago, just 2 years ago, imagine what computer you could get for £79, and now you're getting a Windows tablet with capacitive touchscreen and whatever.
Yeah, I think one of the main things I'll be interested in to see how you get on is the space on the hard drive, because I've mentioned it before that my one worry with the Lumia tablet was the fact it only had a 32 gig hard drive in it. And I'm kind of down to, where am I, about 2.5 gigabytes free.
Yeah.
And that's only modern apps really, and the operating system installed on that drive. The rest is all on my 128 gig micro SD card. So, it's kind of, I mean, 2.6 is still quite a bit of space, but in terms of what you would feel comfortable with, it's obviously getting, that's getting on the low side.
Yeah, well, I've got that Encore with the 6, which has the 16 gig of RAM, 16 gig of storage, and that's got 2 gig free, sort of permanently, and but that has got Office installed.
Yeah.
But of course, this is one of the new ones, isn't it? That's got the compressed file system.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the modern apps, it amazes me actually how space hungry they can be, considering at the moment we can't move them onto any kind of external storage. You've only got to look at the news application or the weather application. That caches quite a bit of information locally, especially with, I think it keeps 1 or 2 revisions of the previous version of the app, doesn't it, as like a backup?
Yeah.
And that can certainly, you use something, I know it's an Intel tool, but you use something like Tree Size, and you can really see the space being gobbled up by those modern apps.
Actually, I should say this Encore that I've got here is a 32 gig on it, and it's got 1.92 gig free.
Yeah, I think you're in a similar situation to me then.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how this 16 gig of RAM and 1 gig of 1 gig of RAM and 16 gig of storage is going, well, back pre-Vista days, isn't it? Back to 2003 hardware. What you would have contemplated XP, but you wouldn't have put Vista on that.
Yeah, although there is a flip side to that. I mean, obviously with the Lumia, although it's an ARM tablet, it's still very much Windows at the heart. So it's got 2 gigabytes of RAM, and that means I get a respective size in terms of a swap file, and also the hibernation file. So that certainly eats into that space.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated to see how usable it actually is for that price, and whether they really are a tablet that you can use for modern apps and email and browsing, or it's a waste of time.
Yes.
We'll find out.
Yeah, watch this space.
Yeah.
As a slight contrast, I think I tweeted I popped into a John Lewis store last week, and had a really good experience there. I really wanted to try the pen experience on the Surface Pro 3. And I think I mentioned on a previous show that you couldn't use OneNote. Anyway, I asked one of the shop assistants, and he got me the stylus out, and I think we were using WordPad, so the only thing I had to write on was the handwriting bit at the bottom of the screen, but it was still enough. And I could write really tiny, really kind of almost like you would write on an A4 pad, just making general notes. And it was the recognition and the experience was really great. But one of the nice things was I was kind of stood using it, and he said, "Look, let me get you a chair, because if you were thinking about using it in meetings, you're not going to be stood up." So when I forgot me a computer chair and sat me down, and it was a really nice experience. But yeah, I was just really, really impressed with the handwriting. So I deliberately wrote as small as I possibly could, because before you had things like palm block technology, you always used to have to hold a stylus kind of in midair, and so your writing kind of, I always found my writing got bigger as a result, a bit like you writing on the Skype article you've got up.
Yeah.
Your writing tends to kind of cover a screen really quickly, but no, this was really impressive.
Pretty well. I think it's a great device, and if I had a project, a new project that I was working on that you could sort of justify it off, then I think that's definitely the device I would go for.
Yeah, but certainly, that's certainly the opposite end of the market to what you're getting.
Yes, I've cut my cloth accordingly.
Yeah,
Gone for the £79 one. So we can have another brief catch up on what Apple announced then. So at the Apple event on Thursday, they announced their Christmas lineup, which was new iPads and new iMacs. Actually, the iMacs look pretty nice. I mean, again, taking a level above the price of the Surface Pro 3. I think what, $2,500, something like that for a. But they've got a 5K display. Very nice looking devices. But the iPads, this is what we thought you may be queuing up for. So you got your iPad Mini 3, which is the second generation of the Retina iPad, which is the third iPad Mini.
Yeah.
Makes things simple.
They've renamed the iPad Mini 2 with Retina display to just the iPad Mini 2, I think, haven't they? So.
Yeah, well, it was called the iPad Mini with Retina display. It's now called the iPad Mini 2. But
almost like Microsoft.
Yeah. £400 for the 16 gig version, and I know I've mentioned this on the show when they talked about the new iPhones. I think it's a bad move for consumers that they've dropped the 32 gig models and just gone with 16 or 64 because that jump is I think the 16 gig ones aren't that useful. My Mini Retina is 16 gig, and I have to uninstall apps to get the updates on. So it's a bit frustrating, really. But anyway, so you're going to be paying $559 for the. Sorry, that's the Air pricing. Won't we look at the Mini 3 is $319 for 16 gig and $399 for 64 gig version. But as you said at the beginning, apart from the Touch ID, there's no difference between that and the other one. It's pretty much what Apple do, though, isn't it? They do incremental updates. So if you've got last year's model, then you're probably not compelled to upgrade. But then if you wait a year, you tend to have a bigger jump.
Yeah, although, I mean, with the iPad Mini, apart from the addition of the Retina display, I'm not really sure the iPad Mini's changed all that much. I mean, my wife's still got the first generation iPad Mini, and you kind of sit down and try and use a more up-to-date version. There isn't really a lot.
No, it's just the display.
Even the form factor is exactly the same. You can buy a case that will fit all three devices, so it's not even like it feels any different in the hand. But just enough again, when I was in John Lewis looking at the Surface Pro 3, I asked about the iPad Mini. They said, "Oh no, we've got the new pricing as of today." So, it's certainly an attractive opportunity to purchase the original iPad Mini 2 at quite a reduced price.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
Well, I should say, just to echo Jason's statement from earlier, it does seem an awful lot of money just for the Touch ID, which is something you use anyway.
Yeah, and a gold case.
Oh, and a gold case.
Worth every penny.
And the other one, obviously, the Air 2, $399 for the 16 gig version, $479 for the 64 gig version. So that's the original Surface pricing, isn't it? Actually,
Yeah.
Again, you get what you're getting on that. You're getting the faster processor. You're getting the better camera, and it's thinner and Touch ID.
Yeah, the thin is good. Although a lot of people I've spoken to have tried one, so it's almost too thin now.
It probably feels. I haven't tried one actually, but it's probably You're gonna get that thin to feel fragile, even though they're not really. So yeah, nothing too exciting on the iPads, but they just need to, they just continue churning out sort of revised models each year, and they'll sell fantastically, and no problem with that. But I still like my Mini.
Yeah, actually, there is one thing we haven't talked about, which is the new LTE iPads have the SIM card built into them. It's actually reprogrammable. It's a permanent SIM, so you can actually very easily switch between carriers, which I'm sure the carriers are very unimpressed with.
Yeah.
Although it's not every carrier still at the moment. There's still a limit on the actual carriers you can actually use, which is, I think, unfortunate, because some of the carriers I'd use aren't on the list.
Yeah, I think I saw EE on the list, which is kind of surprising because they almost kind of control the LTE market in the UK at the moment with their, they got a head start on the rollout. But but yeah, it's certainly interesting that you could, it's essentially not going to be locked to a network.
And you have to think that that's the direction they're going to want to go in with the phones in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Apple have certainly steered the market, haven't they? I mean, they kind of shoehorned in the micro SD, the
Nano.
micro SIM and then the nano SIM.
Yeah,
They're really kind of leading that market, and unfortunately, the carriers have to follow. Really, I think Apple do kind of command that control. Although, one thing I was going to mention, obviously, there was the iOS 8 rollout and the iOS 8.01, which kind of rendered some iPhones unusable, and I did wonder whether or not there would be any backlash from that in terms of the carriers maybe putting a stop on those direct updates.
Yeah, although it doesn't seem to have, does it? So
no.
And 8.1 was actually out today.
Yes, yeah, with the bump to pay.
Yeah. So actually, that means you can be running iOS 8.1, Windows Phone 8.1, and Windows 8.1.
So is iOS going to go to iOS 10 next then?
Well, it could well do, and then they'll have Mac OS 10 and Windows 10. So yeah, the new devices. Yeah, I mean, as we always say, interesting devices. Nothing too exciting, but they'll sell brilliantly, and I do still like my my Mini. It's just a better form factor than I think the Encore, and it has some apps that obviously that you don't get in Windows. So I still like mine, but yeah, not too exciting. The other device that rolled out last week that kind of looks interesting, especially for the home sort of media enthusiast, is the Nexus Player, because Google announced Nexus 6, Nexus 9, which are a phone and a tablet, and the Nexus Player. I don't know whether you saw this, Gary.
I really didn't have a chance to look at much of this. I saw it had been announced, but I really don't know much about it.
Jason, do you see the Nexus Player? Not something you're very interested in, I suppose.
No, but I mean, I did see it. I mean, it's certainly a more interesting device than your normal set-top box. The fact that it's going to include things like game controllers, and although I'm not quite sure necessarily that's going to compete directly with kind of like Xbox and PlayStations, but whether or not you kind of want to play those kind of casual mobile games on a screen is yet to be seen. But yeah, I mean, it certainly looks quite nice. It looks like a little hockey puck, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Google call it console, not a set-top box.
Mm-hmm.
But so, if anyone's seen this, it's basically running Android TV, which they announced a couple of months ago, I think. So it's Android running Android L, which was also announced as being called Lollipop. Android 5.0. So it's got this material design, and already Plex have announced support for it. Netflix is on there. I think it'll run Android apps, and which are then designed to rescale to the appropriate device.
Mm.
It's got voice control by the remote, which I think is a Bluetooth remote. And it will do Chromecasting as well. So rather confusing. You've got Chromecast is the mirroring thing, which is something separate, but this will do that as well. So effectively, you could replace your Chromecast with this, and then do more as well. So,
so people all around the country going, "Okay, Google, let's watch X Factor."
And and then looking for a HDMI port because they've got the Roku plugged in, the Xbox, the Chromecast, the Amazon Fire, Apple TV. But anyway, it's an interesting device. I think I think it's around the £100 mark. I think it was actually £79. I probably put it in the post. Let's have a quick check. I don't think the price had been announced actually when I first posted it. I think it's going to be under £100, so it's going to be more than the Chromecast, but sort of less than an Apple TV, sort of between those two.
Yeah, it certainly looks like an interesting device. Are you? I think you ran the story on the EE set-top box, didn't you?
Yes, we talked about it. Yeah,
but I guess you must have talked about it last week. But for me, that appears to be a potential game changer in terms of obviously the 4 tuners, which is kind of unheard of at the moment. But also for me, the most interesting thing was the fact that it records 6 channels on a rolling 24-hour basis. And so no more kind of thinking, oh, I wish I'd recorded that, or oh, I can't stream that. It's all just kind of sitting there. So it'll be interesting to see how the likes of kind of Sky and Virgin react to that.
Yes, I mean, and all that technology is possible without multiple tuners now, really, through streaming. So there's plenty of options to do it. I don't know how, like you said, how the others will react to it. I guess the problem for you though is that it will probably be on the Android and iOS for the tablets.
Oh yes, yeah, for the remote applications, yes, definitely, and the fact that it's terrestrial, not satellite, which poses a problem for us. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'd be also pre-ordering an Xbox TV unit.
Oh, and we'll talk about that.
Yes.
Surely.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that Plex story, just sorry, not the Plex, the Apple, the Nexus Player story. So if you're in, I think that's if you're in the Google system ecosystem, then again, it's a good device for you. But it goes back to what I was kind of saying a few weeks ago, that sort of Google have got their way of getting their content onto the TV for a low price, and Apple have, Amazon have, but still there's nothing really from Microsoft to fill that sort of gap.
No, I mean obviously they've got their Miracast device, but I we talked about it many times. It's not a comparable technology for me.
No, it's definitely not. Miracast is literally just mirroring.
Mm.
Now what else? So, did you get your firmware update for Surface last week?
For the Surface 2, yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah. So that's past Tuesday, Patch Tuesday. There was a lot of and the one that actually was the comment in there that in the release notes I thought was interesting was an update that prevented the machine from failing to charge when you completely flatten the battery.
Yeah, going into a negative charge state, which fortunately I can't say we've ever had that problem with. The other thing that's really curious is ever since I've made this big deal about highlighting the fact that nobody gets them all no one gets the firmware updates all at the same time. It's a staggered rollout. Apart from that one time when it took about a week for it to come through, I always get them on Patch Tuesday.
Yeah, so do I.
Very strange.
I think I've had that problem with it running flat. Do you remember when I've had 2 returns, haven't I?
Yes.
And I had one that wouldn't charge, and I even took it to John Lewis and tried it in there. So I guess that's what that was. That was the problem.
Yeah, that's an awfully long time for them to come up with a fix, though.
Yeah, but do you also remember me saying a couple of weeks ago that someone in John Lewis told a colleague that there was a problem with the Surface charging?
Right.
And I wonder whether that was related to it. But anyways, John Lewis still haven't got the Surface 2s in stock, and neither the Microsoft store.
Yeah, I think I do wonder whether or not stock's been rolled down. But actually interested, if John Lewis, they sell a replacement power supply for the Surface 2, but not the Surface Pro 3. But they have got the docking station in stock now. So
yeah, it's interesting. I'm still. It looks like that if there's no announcement from Microsoft, then the Surface RT or consumer Surface, I think, could be on it. Could be dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting the fact that what's the Surface 2 must be what 6. What was it? Start of the year that it came out? I'm trying to think. No, it was last October.
October,
wasn't it?
yeah.
And they still seem to be quite significant firmware fixes for a device that's 12 months old.
Yeah, and no stock and not selling any at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you'd understand, operating system patches, but it just seems odd that some really significant firmware updates.
But I noticed on my Google Analytics, I can see what kind of devices are used on the site, and the third most popular device is a Surface RT powered device. So that's either the original Surface or the Surface 2. So there's a significant amount of people using the Surface 2 to come on the site. Now, I know we're an enthusiast site and have a lot of Microsoft focus, so that's probably skews it a little bit. But it shows you there are a lot of people using it. It's not all me and you.
Yes, yeah. I think the Surface 2 has done quite well. I still, unfortunately, think people are maybe buying it without truly realizing what it is. And I think from that perspective, if the next Windows 10 for mobile is a true mobile operating system, and I think hopefully that confusion might go away somewhat.
Yeah. I'm interested that's isn't there that internally it's called Windows Mobile?
Yes, I did hear that. Yeah, well, that's not such a bad name, really. I mean, essentially, it is what it is. Although, drop the Windows.
It just makes me think of my Trio or my iPad.
Yes,
in fact, the iPad would be good with the pen for drawing Skype messages.
It would, yeah. Funny enough, we still don't have TomTom on Windows Phone. It's and yet that's what it appeared on first.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the other thing that I did a post on this actually. The Skype now includes you can draw pictures.
Yes. I'm not quite sure why you'd want to do that, but I'm just old.
Well, you can draw pictures. Maybe you use the mapping thing where you can draw on maps and stuff. But yeah, I can't see me using it. But interesting to see that it's Windows only at the moment. First for Windows, which is usually it's the other way around, isn't it? It gets the last to get it, even from Microsoft.
Yeah.
Well, so
they also released another client as well, didn't they? Was it, or did you talk about that last week? The Microsoft
the Quick.
Yeah.
Which again, I think I can't see me sending quick messages, but I asked my kids about it, and they do use Skype to talk to the friends. And I showed them this Quick, and they weren't really impressed. So whether it's just sort of above their age group and below mine, I don't know. There is a range there you could fit into.
Was that between them watching Vine videos on the Xbox One?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they watch Netflix while having Skype on the snap to the side and talking to each other, and there's two of them in there. So, and they've got sort of two conversations Skype and two different Netflix streams all on at the same time.
True multitasking.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then I try and watch Netflix, and it says, "Oh, you're all your device. You're already using all your devices."
Yeah. Actually, did you see the Spotify family pack?
Yes, I did. Go on, tell us about that.
So basically, Spotify, which is I think it's $9.99, isn't it, in the UK? And I haven't seen the official UK pricing, but in the US, I think it's the same, about $10 per month. And basically, you can add additional family members up to 5 for an extra $5 a month, which I think it maybe is a slightly steep in that I'd have thought maybe the discount would go up the more people you added, but I still it's certainly something that services like Xbox Music and whatnot certainly need to consider offering.
Yeah, I think we're going to get into streaming music price war in the next few months.
Yes,
Apple Beats and all that sort of stuff coming along. I think there was rumours Apple made half the Beats subscription cost. So that'd be interesting to see how all that would affect on. But I think this is Spotify getting striking first.
Yes, yeah. I still would like to see the Xbox Music service on Sonos. That would be really good.
Oh, yes, please.
That would be really good. I think that would definitely tie me into that then. But if not, I mean, certainly looking at using Spotify if it's that, for a couple of family members for £15 a month or whatever the equivalent might be.
Yeah, I since I switched over to Xbox Music, I really like it, but I just missed that Sonos integration.
Yes, yeah. And it's not even when in the Xbox Music app, when you try and do a play to the Sonos, it says, sorry, this is protected content, so we can't stream it.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, I ended up having to use my Google Play library then.
Yes.
But that hasn't got the extra things that I've added through Xbox Music. So yeah, I'd like to see that. Although what I have been doing is just sticking the Xbox on in my living room and through the surround sound and just using Xbox Music on there.
Yes, yeah, because we've got the Sonos soundbar, so you can actually set that to play TV sound through the rest of the house, which also works really well. And we were actually playing around with Xbox video on Xbox Music on the Xbox One. It was great because it's just automatically, if there's a video to go along with the song, it just automatically plays it.
I love that. Yeah,
the kids are absolutely loving that, just flicking between different songs they know and watching the videos.
Yeah, I love that. Look, watching on my 80s retro videos.
Yeah, so I mean, certainly, a family Xbox Music subscription. But I'd still like to see it kind of in some way encompassed into the Xbox Gold. I think that would be a real value for money to do that. But I don't think they're quite going to go that far.
No, I think they should look at that.
Mm.
Bit like how Spotify give away their free streaming service.
Yes, yeah.
Talk about video. Ian, how far are you through Miami Vice now?
Halfway through series 2, which my rest of my family are really loving.
I bet they are.
But it's on my server, on my Plex server. So I've been having my lunch sat at work with my Surface playing Miami Vice with the headphones, and it works really well.
Here's a test for you both. Every time I mention this TV show, everyone just gives me blank looks, and I end up having to send the Wikipedia page. But anybody remember Automan?
Yes.
No.
Oh, 50-50. That's not bad.
That's not bad, actually. For Automan.
Yeah.
Don't remember that.
Oh dear. With Cursor.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Look it up, Ian.
I'll have to look that up. I'm too busy buying my my new white suit
Yeah, absolutely.
and my Testarossa.
Actually, talking of streaming services, did one big thing for me is that Ultraviolet's finally useful in the UK after Flixster seemed completely against releasing their app in the UK.
Yeah, so I saw you tweet about this, so go on and explain them.
Yeah, so I don't know if people have seen when you buy a Blu-ray or a DVD in the shops, it used to come with like a digital code for either iTunes or I think you could even get a Windows Media Player version. But more and more, they're now having this Ultraviolet, which basically gives you a digital code, and you can log onto the Ultraviolet website and put in your code, and you get a free digital copy of the movie, which you could play streaming off the website. But what it means is normally you buy a video on an online service like Xbox Video or Blinkbox or whatever your chosen service is, and that video is then locked into that service. So if Blinkbox shut down, which I think Tesco are rumoured to be reviewing doing, that digital locker is completely gone. Whereas what Blinkbox have done is they've announced a time with Ultraviolet, which means for certain titles from certain film studios, basically you buy your video from Blinkbox, but then you also automatically get an Ultraviolet copy. And Ultraviolet is kind of backed by all the major film studios, so you would hope that's less likely to go away than a streaming service. But it's always been of real limited use for me. While you could use the Ultraviolet website to play the movies, you on iTunes, on iOS and Android, you had the Flixster app, which you could put in your Ultraviolet details and stream all your Ultraviolet collection. But for some reason, the Flixster app in the UK isn't available on Windows as a store app. So now when I log into Blinkbox, I see not only movies that I bought from Blinkbox, but also my full Ultraviolet collection.
Right, so even if you're not buying movies from Blinkbox, you can create an account connected to your Ultraviolet account and then watch stuff that you've already got in your catalogue.
Yeah, anything that's already in your Ultraviolet locker. And one thing that Tesco used to do tied in with Blinkbox is if you bought a movie in Tesco's, it would automatically get added to your Blinkbox account. Whereas now it would automatically get added if it's Ultraviolet compatible, it would automatically get added to your Ultraviolet locker. So I think it's a really important addition. It really makes Ultraviolet usable for me as a as a part of my loyalty to the digital lifestyle. I purchased was it P. Sherman movie just to test it out, and yep, it's now in my Blinkbox vault and in my my Ultraviolet locker as well. That the only slight frustrating thing is we bought the Lego movie through Blinkbox, which is Ultraviolet compatible, but because it was purchased before they tied up with Ultraviolet, we don't get the Ultraviolet copy. And I think it would have been quite nice, if that had been kind of backdated.
Yeah.
Because essentially it doesn't cost them anything to do it, and it is an Ultraviolet title, but basically it's only anything purchased after the 7th of October. But on the reverse of that, one thing that is really good is if you buy movies from Blinkbox that are Ultraviolet compatible since the 7th of October, if you then later join Ultraviolet, it will then sync those movies into your Ultraviolet collection.
Right.
So they are trying to do the right thing. It's just slightly disappointing that some movies that you purchased before the 7th of October don't get backwards, added back retrospectively, which would have been good.
Yeah, and I think like you said, there are sort of rumours that that Tesco may look to axe Blinkbox, but that seems to be an essential part of their tablet strategy.
Yeah, I think so. I think, I mean, like any company that's going through their kind of transition, you're going to look at services that don't necessarily, fit in with a supermarket, a traditional supermarket. But I think in this digital age, if you've got something like the Huddle, you need that ecosystem to go with it. Certainly if you're going to compete with the likes of Amazon.
Yeah.
But no, I thought I was really pleased when that happened. So that's really good, and it made me think. Really, it's again, why on earth isn't Microsoft Xbox Video tied in with Ultraviolet? Because it really should be.
Yes, that would make that useful as well. I've never pitched anything on Xbox Video for that reason, really, that it was tied just to Xbox Video. Although perhaps now I'm not so bad because I'm mainly using Windows. But as soon as you pick up another device, an Android or iPad or whatever, you can't access that content, and that's what you want to try and avoid.
Yeah, although there is the Xbox Video app, isn't there, for iOS and Android?
I think so. I can't think I've tried that. I've got the Xbox Music app, but not the video app.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit,
Sure.
I have purchased a few movies from Xbox Video just because it fits in so nicely with everything I use, but there was in the back of my mind a real nervousness about that content going away. I think I talked about Pulp Fiction was a good example where it's no longer available in the store. So if you'd purchased it and lost your downloaded copy or hadn't downloaded it, you'd no longer be able to access it. But I think slowly over time, the Xbox Video terms have improved, and I've not seen any of that kind of limitation on the movies that I have bought. But certainly from now on, any movies that are Ultraviolet compatible, I'll be buying through Blinkbox.
There is no Android Xbox Video app.
Okay.
I've not got my iPad up here, but I can't remember seeing it, to be honest. I don't think there is.
Got you. Okay.
So only the music, which is one of the reasons why I like the music service so much, is that no matter which device I pick up, I can access it. So yeah, doing that on the video would make sense as well.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, I'm a bit nervous about Xbox Video in terms of content disappearing, but no, I mean, Ultraviolet will be through Blinkbox now.
Yeah. Now, mention Xbox One. There's been quite a lot of Xbox One news recently. They're, as we said in previous shows, trying to it, and the October update rolled out last week. So for anybody on the preview program, and the October update included the DLNA and MKV enabled media player. I don't know if you've tried that. I think you're on the preview program, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I haven't tried that.
So, well, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago when I tried it in September because I'm on the preview program. But the DLNA app, while basic, it does work and it will play MKV files. So if you've got a media browser server, Plex server, although there's a Plex app, which we talked about last week, or if you've got even just Windows Home Server or any media DLNA server on the network, a NAS or anything, it will play content from there. And like I said, it's basic, but you can navigate through folders, and quite a few DLNA servers have virtual folders, so you can look by artist or by actor or whatever. So it supports all that. So it's not a bad interface. It's early days. It's a preview app, but at least that functionality is there.
Yeah. I think it's good to have that kind of app, as you say. Although it's quite basic, and I still wonder, how wide the market is for people using that kind of app, given that you need some kind of local content streaming installed on a PC somewhere.
I personally, I mean, I'm just loving the Plex app now because I've got everything running on there. But in fact, there's a little video of Media Browser and how well that works with it. So if you're a media browser user, then you can definitely use that DLNA app with the Xbox One, and I'll include a link to that in the show notes. Now, the other thing, something you mentioned earlier on, is the digital TV tuner is now available. Have you ordered one of those? I don't think you're a terrestrial person, are you?
No, we're satellite, so it's unfortunately there isn't an option to get a satellite tuner. But yeah, unless I can get a cable run around to where the Xbox One is, or it's unfortunately unusable for me.
Yeah. Gary,
otherwise, I would definitely order one because I think it's going to be a really interesting device.
Gary, did you see this?
I did see it, and I think I've said a few months back that this is one of the few things which might tempt me to get an Xbox One. But I think they need to add recording before I'll do that, because then it could replace Media Center potentially.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a great idea, and I love the fact you can stream the TV to your mobile device from using this as well. That's really clever.
Yeah. So it's $24.99. It's a USB tuner, single tuner, but it's DVB-T T2, so Freeview HD. So I think I'm going to actually. Well, I've ordered one, so I've still got my aerial cable that was for my media center, so I'm going to plug that into the Xbox and see that. And just like you said, Gary, I'm just interested to see what it's like streaming. So it'll stream to the iPad Smart Glass app and the Windows Phone version and the Windows version, not the Android version at the moment, but that's coming.
Yeah, I mean, that's functionality that I would definitely be interested in. And of course, now you'll be able to see what's trending on TV.
Yeah,
and you'll be flicking through the channels watching it.
Because that was the other update thing that was announced today was the November update, and I actually haven't tried this yet on mine because I'm not switched my Xbox on today. But so if you're on the preview program, you get the November update in October, and what part of that was you can set customized backdrops on your Xbox, and you can there's a TV mini guide, and in there there's trending TV, and I think for the US only. Trending on Twitter, and I guess that'll come to the UK eventually as well.
And I thought it mentioned the UK. I think it was US and UK. I think maybe it was just for the okay. Maybe I misread it. I just saw something about the Twitter being US only, but maybe it's UK. Right. Okay. Yeah, it might be that.
The trending is UK because that uses the TV. I guess they eat the data from people actually. What people are using on the service.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still not quite sure the usefulness of that, because unless there's a new show starting that you don't know about, you're generally pretty clued up as to what's coming up, and you've probably got stuff recording elsewhere anyway. But we'll see. Maybe I'm just old.
Yeah, that's the theme that's running tonight, actually.
Yeah.
Jason feels old tonight.
You two are both younger than me anyway. So.
That's why we like having you on the show, Gary. It makes us feel young.
I feel young anyway, so.
Yeah, that's okay. It's just Jason that feels old.
Yeah, absolutely. I must have a birthday coming up.
Present time, new tablet.
Yes.
I like the idea of the streaming side of it. Yeah, the trending I'm not so bothered about, but I suppose it's handy every now and again. I've got Sky Plus, so it's 2 tuner recording, and every now and again it is recording 2 things, and you want to watch the third thing, so you could switch over to the Xbox and watch live TV on the Xbox. But like Gary said, it really, to make it complete, it needs the recording, and that is so easy for them to add. Now, whether it's something that they're working on and coming later, or whether they're avoiding doing that for the rights issues, and whether things get complicated when you start doing that. So it's just an area they're staying away from. I don't know, but it's not technically difficult for them to enable that. It could just be an update.
It is interesting the fact that this thing, that the TV tuner is UK only. It does make you wonder whether or not they're finding it harder to integrate with set-top boxes in the UK. And therefore people aren't tending to use the Xbox One as input one, and this is kind of their attempt to mitigate that, but also I guess answer the argument about why have I got 2 devices switched on just to watch TV. Maybe,
and I think DVB-T2 is a fairly common standard, so I guess it applies to a lot of markets as well.
Yeah, and I guess perhaps with the trending feature, that Windows Media Center could use that so it knows what to record.
Yeah, I have a problem at the moment, won't it?
Yeah.
So, Gary, are you using the Microsoft CPG data for your media center?
Well, I would be if there was any.
So, when does yours run out?
I think about 2 weeks' time.
I think from what I've seen so far, it seems to be when the clocks change.
Yeah, that seems to be when which is a week and bits time, isn't it?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
And we've had this before, exactly this time of year as well.
Yeah.
Now, there's a thing on Connect on the Microsoft Connect site where you can sort of vote up these issues. Although the link worked fine for me because I've been on this before. I think I've registered for it. I think it won't take new registrations on the Connect site now. So I don't know whether everybody can see this, see the link. You have to sign in through your Microsoft account. But basically that there's 22 votes on it at the moment. And there's some interesting comments. Somebody from Microsoft on a chat session told somebody that's posted on here that they're working on it and they could be fixing it, but it looks like at some point it's going to run out. Now, in the past, it's kind of been down to a couple of days and then it's kicked in. So whether that'll be the same thing that's happened again, I don't know. But it does highlight the issue that we've talked about before, which is a legacy issue. And in fact, somebody sent me a link to somewhere on a Microsoft forum where they described Media Center as a legacy product, and therefore they're not maintaining the EPG page. There used to be a page where you could report EPG issues, and they're no longer maintaining that.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think it's a sign of the times, isn't it?
Yeah. So even if Windows 10 supports Media Center, if the EPG data is not there, it's no good for TV services. And funny enough, I thought, in fact, it was Tom Warren replied back to me on Twitter and said, "What about the Xbox One EPG? Does that, because that surely comes from the same source?" And I checked on my Smart Glass app, and that has got EPG data beyond the data where Media Center has. So they are coming from different sources.
Or same source, but interpreted differently.
Yes. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So, it could be they're coming from the same source, but they're not. The way that it comes through to the client device is obviously different, and that's the problem. So, whether that'll be fixed, hopefully it will be. When it will fix, we've no information. We keep raising it, and I've raised it with people at Microsoft, and I know other people have as well. So we'll see what happens. I think they're aware of it, and I just don't think they've got the engineering resources focused on Media Center anymore that would push a fast update through. But as we said before, anybody using it on Windows 8.1 has paid extra for this service.
Yeah, it should support.
Yeah, as opposed to any other feature of Windows. This is the one thing you specifically paid for, Media Center.
Yeah.
So hopefully they should get that sorted soon, because it's very frustrating. Well, it renders it useless, basically, doesn't it?
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's not going to help anybody. Now, just tonight, there's been a new build of Windows 10. And Jason, I don't think you've tried this yet, have you?
No, it'll probably take me a few days to download it.
Yeah. If you were downloading the 3 gig update, we would not be speaking on Skype now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gary, have you tried this yet?
Yeah. Well, I've just actually had a notification pop up in my new notification center.
Oh.
Which is very nice.
Ian Dixon calling.
That would be on the device that you're not currently using. It would notify you.
Yeah. No, it's really. I like that picture. I haven't really found anything else yet, but I'll do some more digging and see what happens. But I think I can see in it they've actually put the notification. I mean, you could get to the notification center on the old build if you knew the registry hacks, but this is now obviously built into the build. Yeah,
it's interesting to see how. This is how Microsoft said it would be delivered, but the update, the new build comes down through Windows Update, or you can trigger it by going into the update build section in the PC settings.
Builds. That's what I did as soon as I knew it was out there, and it came down pretty damn quick. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and one thing I saw from Paul Thurrott on Twitter last night, I think it was, interestingly, he seems to have had some confirmation that Windows 10 will support connected standby even with Hyper-V installed, which is of real interest for me on the Surface Pro 3. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, for me, that's interesting as well from a development point of view. So I think that's. Do you want to explain that, Jason?
Yeah, sure. So same with the ARM tablets, and I think the Atom processor as well, isn't it? That Windows 8 and Windows 8.1 supported what's called connected standby, which is essentially the easiest way to explain it is really how a mobile phone works, or an iPad, or an Android tablet works. That when you when you hit the power button, you're not turning the device off. It maintains a kind of a low power connection to the internet via whatever wireless radio is in operation, and it essentially means that it's still capable of synchronizing email in the background, receiving updating live tiles, so that when you switch the device back on or you kind of wake it up, the information's still fresh and up to date. Now, the original Surface Pro, and I think even the Surface Pro 2, didn't support connected standby. Is that right with the Pro 2, Gary?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So then, kind of being based on the core Intel Core line of processors, while the device went into standby and powered up really quickly, it didn't maintain that radio. So one of the things that the Surface Pro 3 introduced was support for connected standby, meaning that your Core i3, i5, or i7 Surface Pro 3 work just like an Atom or ARM-based processor. But one thing, if you then install the Hyper-V role, which allows you to run the Microsoft virtualization stack, that disabled connected standby just because it wasn't compatible with the virtualization engine. But it seems from information from Paul Thurrott that with Windows 10 that will still be supported, which for me is really good news, because essentially I would want Hyper-V on my Surface Pro 3, so that would have been a kind of negative impact.
I've also noticed that Paul's saying that battery saver and data sensor are also in this new build.
Got you.
So data sensor is obviously is an interesting one. I wonder if that includes the ability to store stuff onto the SD card.
Yes. Yeah, hopefully.
I really hope they implement that like they've done on Windows Phone.
Yeah, it'd be great if they did. I mean, it really would be great.
Yes.
But I think the other couple of changes to this build are there's a way of switching between monitors. There's a key combination. So there's better support for dual monitors based on multiple monitors, which I think is good. Windows Shift and Arrow, which will switch you from one monitor to another when using multiple desktops, which is good. And there's animations when switching between desktops, which I think is all right. I think the release notes on the blog post that goes with it does mention some of the issues that are in there as well. I think they've rolled back the UI on the Wi-Fi, joining the Wi-Fi network a bit. The UI is sort of gone back to a previous version, and I think that's just while they're implementing a new UI. So we're seeing a much different way of rolling out these changes than we did under Windows 8. Under Windows 8 we got the preview build, and that was it. There was what feedback was given was pretty much ignored. This is very much not, very different to that we're getting an early taste, we're getting incomplete features, but that's fine. That what you're signing up for when you get this test build, and you're quite happy to see it progress, and certainly to have the feedback there, and they're getting the feedback, and then acting on that feedback is great.
Yeah,
it's a very different Microsoft than a few years ago.
Definitely. No, it's it's certainly going to be interesting, and hopefully this insider program will continue after it goes gold sometime next year.
Yes, it would be nice to do it. The way that it's been done on the Xbox seems to work quite well. I don't know how good it's working for Microsoft, but from our point of view, it seems good. Where a month early, you get testers get the build a month early, find the issues, and then I guess they get fixed and incorporated into the final release a month later. So if you want to be on the sort of bleeding edge, you can get the previews earlier. If you want the stable builds, you get the preview later. And in a way, very much like you can do with a lot of Linux distributions, you can have the stable build, you can go for the nightlies or whatever. So giving you that control and option over it, but it's nice to feel like you're getting something early and having an impact on it. And maybe that just makes people who test it and then go on to use it feel more ownership of it, or of the OS, something like that, and not as ignored. Then if that gets more positive result feedback and more positive attitude to Windows, then great, because that's Microsoft need all the positivity they can get.
Yes.
But so far, I really like Windows 10 on the desktop machine. I'm using it at work, and in fact, if it wasn't for the fact that I need to keep one on the stable build, I would upgrade all my desktop and laptops with it, because it works so much more. It makes so much more sense on a desktop or a laptop.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wouldn't put it on the Surface, but on a laptop, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Right. What else do I wanted to get to talk about today? Let's bring up my notes. Oh, we mentioned Smart Glass as well. This Smart Glass apps have been updated to take for this live TV streaming, so you should see some updates for that. And other updates from Microsoft: the Xbox Music was updated this week, or today, in fact, for iOS, Windows Phone, and Windows 8.1. So simultaneous updates. So I guess this may be some back end change that they're addressing. What else? Oh, VLC for Windows was updated last week. So this is the Intel Windows Store, or as Microsoft now call it, is this the official term now? Is Universal Apps, isn't it?
Yeah, Universal Apps.
Yeah. So this is the term for the store apps.
Yeah, which are not universal, but there we go.
Yes.
They can be, but they don't have to be. But that's what they're called. It makes sense to have a clear branding.
It does. I actually quite like that. I think it's quite good. I mean, it's quite good that you can say that you can build one app and it will be available on phone and store. But at the moment, that's actually not technically true. You still have to effectively write two interfaces for it. But most of the code,
yeah. So the VLC Universal app was updated, and there was a few bug fixes in there, and it's a pretty good app actually. And I noticed that I retweeted one of the developer tweets today, who successfully managed to compile VLC using Microsoft's compiler on ARM.
Oh, right.
So that means that potentially we're going to see it's a step closer for the ARM version for Windows RT and for Windows Phone.
So maybe we'll see that in the store just for Windows 10 coming out, when they'll have to re-architect it again.
Yes, probably. I haven't tried. I haven't seen any changes to the APIs so far. Gary, they've not really talked about developer changes for Windows 10 yet, have they?
They haven't yet. No. I think that's a little way down the line. Although from what I've seen, it won't be that different on the Windows Store side, because Windows 10 isn't that different from Windows 8. But I think the Windows Phone side and the tablet style devices, there may be bigger changes.
Yeah, and that's could be potentially see that in January.
Yeah,
because I think I'm not sure, since we last talked, they announced the date of the build.
Yes,
I think it's April, isn't it?
Yeah, and the end of TechEd.
Yeah, so are you going to TechEd? Is it TechEd Barcelona this time?
Yeah, it is, but I'm not this year because I'm running it all out of the States. So.
Right.
But which is, and I think because it's a wind down this year, it's the last one. They're getting ready for their new conference, which is going to be called Ignite, which is going to replace TechEd.
Which sounds like a team name from The Apprentice.
Yeah, it does. or the Seattle Ignite.
Yeah.
The new, I can't even think what sport that would be, but
so that's going to replace TechEd and a few other shows, and then sort of
combined
show,
combined show. So the specific SharePoint show, and that will all be coming into that.
Yeah. So I guess we'll find out more Windows things at these shows, and certainly developer story at Build.
Yeah.
And we'll probably get a developer. So I guess we'll get another preview. So April. So they are probably on for sort of late summer release then of Windows 10.
Yeah, I think that seems likely. Whether the mobile bits will fall into place for them, I'm not sure, but they're certainly working hard on it.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, that's everything we've got time for this week. So I'm going to go and get my Windows 10 update downloaded. Jason, you start yours now, and we'll be done for next week's show.
Yes, absolutely.
I think Jason will be done by summer 2015. Actually, I've got one question for the listeners or yourselves, if anybody can answer this one. I've just upgraded a friend's media center from 7 to 8.1. The media center's running absolutely fine, but he's got a Belkin 7-port USB hub, and since I've upgraded, it's not being recognised by the media center. It just comes up and says it's an unrecognised device.
Right. So you normally have drives connected to it.
Yeah, the drivers and everything, but it's actually not even recognising the hub. Even the hub, just with nothing else plugged into it. As soon as you plug it in, it says it's you get these messages saying the USB device has not been recognised. Yeah,
so if you go into Device Manager, you can see it.
Yeah. But it doesn't actually get a driver installed or anything like that. And everything I've tried, I can't seem to get it to work. So anybody's come across this or has got any ideas, I'd be delighted to hear them.
Yeah. So have you tried the usual thing of sort of deleting the...
deleting the driver, putting it in, or deleting the director's office. It's a standard Windows driver for USB. Doesn't pick it up at all. It just always comes up with this message saying it's not been recognised. Plug it into a Windows 7 box and it seems to work fine. But it's interesting enough, I tried it on my Windows 8.1 and it did get recognised. So it's not just the fact it's 8.1. It's a bit weird.
It's a failed driver install or something like that, isn't it, that's stuck?
Yeah, although I can't think that there's actually, the driver's actually part of Windows.
Yeah.
So it's not even though it's an external driver. So all very weird, but any help on that, I'd be really pleased to hear it to try and get around this problem. Otherwise, it's going to be a new hub.
Yeah. Oh, well, send that feedback in. So where can we get in touch with you, Gary?
You can get me on Twitter at GaryWMA. You can come across to Fascinating Tech, and half this month's issue's up. We've had some really major hosting issues, but corrupted sites and all sorts of things, but we are getting it back together. But you can enter the competition. You can win a Spare One phone, which is a rather nice device. A phone powered by a single AA battery, which has got almost 2 years battery life.
Excellent. Fantastic. That's not an iPhone.
It's actually a very handy device. I've given some to some relatives and who sort of just as a standby, particularly when they're going out to things like events and out in muddy fields and that, because it comes in a waterproof case as well. So it's just there as an emergency phone, basically. Take any SIM and plug in and go. That you can get one from www.spareone.co.uk, and if you happen to be listening to this podcast, you can get a discount as well. There's a code which I'll share with Ian so he can put it in the notes.
Oh, I'll do that. Yeah, excellent. And Jess, where can we find you? Apart from John Lewis.
Yeah. You can find me loitering on Twitter at DatabaseJace.
So next time you'll be in there the weekend, I just need to connect up this drive with my SQL servers on it, and
yeah, absolutely.
You sat there for a few hours while you didn't get your work done. So I don't need this thing after all. I've finished the project.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're done now.
Excellent. Right, great fun, guys. Well, I'll go and get Windows 10 loaded, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Take care.
Cheers. Bye
bye. Good stuff.
Good stuff. So.
I'm around next week. I'm not around the following week because I'm over in Redmond for the MVP Summit.
Oh, where are you going?
Yeah, I've decided to go. Mainly because I've got a bit of work very nearby the week after. So I thought, well, I might as well fly out earlier.
Yeah.
And actually, surprisingly enough, and I know Jason, when I hear this, he's got to block his ears now.
I'm not